Peace, YouTube. So today we're going to be dealing with the heart chakra once more, and we're going to talk about the shadow self and how two characters from Kingdom Hearts represent both of these aspects. Ventus and Vanitas, Ventus representing pure light while Vanitas represents pure darkness, are both aspects of the heart chakra. Ventus represents air, and air is the element of the heart chakra, while Vanitas represents darkness and all negativity. The unversed are described as flowing into him, and they are considered the demons, and they're also connected. Ventus is pure light, and the unversed are created as a result of both of them being split from each other. So the Keyblade or the X-Blade is formed when both Ventus and Vanitas fight against each other. And Key means God. It means the primordial first. It means energy. Ki is described as energy, and it's also described as prana in Hinduism. It makes sense that the God blade or the Ki blade is formed by the fusion of light and darkness into one singularity. Now, if you understand the chakras, the way I've explained them in previous videos is that they are connected by the heart chakra. Your lower and your higher self are connected by your heart. So when you split these two things, you have a duality. So they're not meant to be split. Ventus and Vanitas, both representing two individuals, two parts of the darkness and the light, being split into two different entities and having to come back to form the God Blade, is symbolic of what that does. And so when we think about the heart chakra is where you're merging aspects of the higher self and aspects of the lower self. That's where they connect, right? You're ascending past your lower nature, which could be considered Vanitas, right? And that's why he wears the darker colors, the red and the black, because that's representing the lower nature. Ventus wears green. Ventus wears brighter colors, which represents the higher chakras, but mainly the heart chakra because green is his dominant color. So when those two merge in the middle, you are harmonizing them. You're not discarding one or the other, but you're actually harmonizing parts of yourself instead of leaving them behind, because you don't want to be too focused on your spiritual side while you're having a human experience, and you don't want to be too focused on your human side while that part of you that yearns to be fed, that spiritual part of you that yearns to learn, to grow, and to get an experience here, that part of you needs to be fed too. So this is where the heart chakra really takes precedence. This is where you're really learning and you're transforming here, but you have to learn how to balance yourself. It's not about being only about your higher self. Your higher self is supposed to guide you to understand all aspects of you rather than to discard parts of you. The only part of you that is meant to be discarded is that which doesn't serve your higher purpose. So but you being here in a human experience is meant to serve you for a higher purpose. Is why you're here in the first place, because nothing happens on accident, nothing happens for no reason. Ericus is described by Xehanort as leaning too far into the light. So as a result, Xehanort describes Ericus as being short-sighted because, of course, if you're too far into the light, that can stop you from really understanding the lessons and the power that darkness can actually bring you, the knowledge that it can bring you, understanding the unknown. So Ericus keeps Ventus away from the truth to stop the Keyblade from being formed. And Ventus being pure light goes along with it because he's innocent, so he doesn't understand what's really happening. And this is symbolic of what happens when one is too focused on the visible world, which represents light, and the universe or creation. All those things represent light. This is why anything that is described as light or good could be considered the visible world, could be considered universe, creation, and knowledge. You also see in different medias where light or light beings are described as creative beings. So in Dragon Ball, you have the Supreme Kai. They are the light beings, and the inverse of them is the gods of destruction, the dark beings. Xehanort argues in favor of darkness because Ventus was pure light and he was resistant to his own darkness due to his amnesia. So Ventus could not forge the Keyblade on his own and needed it extracted from him to complete the task. In other words, Ventus was imbalanced. When this first happened, Ventus was pure light and he restricted his own darkness as a result of not knowing who he was. Now, this is in Birth by Sleep, but in Union Cross, obviously, Ventus had a battle where he battled darkness itself, and he was able to embody pure darkness and pure light within himself. But after that battle, he time traveled, and then in Birth by Sleep, he doesn't know anything that's going on. That amnesia is symbolic of what happens when you come down into the human experience. You forget who you are. And as a result, as you go through humanity, you have a certain amnesia. This is why, when you reincarnate, you lose memories of your past lives. Things aren't technically supposed to happen that way, but as a result of the Dark Age, as a result of the many different ways that reincarnation is described, but if you really want to put it through the lens of Gnosticism, you forget because the demiurge wants you to forget. It wants you to be in amnesia, because if you're in ignorance, you can't rise to your true power and rise above the prison that Earth can be considered, or the dark world, the lower worlds can be considered. So in essence, Ventus represents what we all go through when we reincarnate, and that's the amnesia. And not being able to forge the Keyblade or the God Blade on his own, in essence, that can also be symbolic of, you losing touch with your spiritual power, you losing touch with your soul as you go further into that amnesia through the darkness of your human experience. That can create a separation between you and that God Blade or that God power. So really, when we start to look at these symbols and what Kingdom Hearts is really talking about, is really, at the end of the day, it's describing a process in you, and it's describing a way to get back. So Ventus represents an individual who wants to know the truth. That's why he's pure light. Ventus is like the same thing as Horus in Egyptian mythology. He's a hero and he wants to know the truth, and he's going on his own journey. That light within all of us, that pure light within all of us, is guiding all of us down the path to find our own truth. This is why he has amnesia, and his story mirrors that which we all go through. It mirrors that the reincarnation experience and the journey that we take through the human experience. Vanitas being extracted from him, as well as the creation of the Unverse, is a symbol of our shadow selves. Darkness multiplies and is never ending. In other words, those lower emotions can multiply and they're never ending. The lower selves, the thought forms, so all those things multiply. The human experience continues to multiply and it's never ending. The only way that you can really take control of that is by rising above your lower self and going back into the light and creating a balance within the heart chakra. So Vanitas can represent the lower self and Ventus can represent the higher self, and how these two meet in the heart chakra. When they meet in the heart chakra, they're battling. The same way that Horus and Set in Egyptian mythology, they're battling. These two have to battle to forge the God Blade. This is why Vanitas was extracted from it in the first place, because Xehanort, due to his favor being in darkness, wanted to take that out of Ventus and use it to teach him a lesson. The same way that when we go through humanity, when we go through our experience here, our darkness and everything that we experience here is teaching us a lesson, regardless of however bad it may seem, and regardless of however we might feel about it as victims or whatever the case may be. It's all meant for a higher purpose at the end of the day. That's the way we're supposed to look at things, so we don't feel victimized and so we don't miss out on the true riches and the lessons and the experiences that we go through as spiritual beings having a human experience. So the lower side of darkness contains our lower emotions. It contains our lower selves and our lower thoughts, while the higher side of darkness represents hidden knowledge and the unknown in an exciting way. This is why Vanitas has a lot more knowledge than Ventus. He's the one that doesn't have the amnesia, while Ventus does have the amnesia. In Kingdom Hearts, darkness is the mystery. Our shadows can be cruel and ruthless like Vanitas is, while we're going through, or while we might have certain experiences. This darkness plays on those fears. It plays on those things that we run away from. It's exactly why he uses his friends against him. He uses everything that he can against him to get him to wake up. If it weren't for Vanitas, Ventus wouldn't have ever left home. That's why in the beginning cutscene, Vanitas is the one who tries to get Ventus, he tries to spark him going on a journey in the first place by putting his friends at risk, by saying he's threatening them. And that's what gets him out the house. Otherwise, he's gonna sit there comfortably asleep. And truthfully, darkness is what refines us to be who we are, to grow. We can't grow without adversity. If everything was just comfortable in life, then there would really be no journey here. We would just be lazy. We wouldn't really have any growth in life. But we have to experience adversity. We have to experience something challenging, something thought-provoking, experience-provoking. That is the purpose of darkness. It is a teacher, it is an instigator, and that's why it comes before light does, because light comes out of darkness. Darkness doesn't come out of light. And Vanitas is considered the dark side of the heart. The unversed They're negative entities or thought forms created from trials and tribulations. And his character is cold, cruel, ruthless, and uncaring, but it's a dark protector created to carry and control these emotions. However, when we let those things run wild, or in other words, the two being separated, Vanitas can become a villain that constantly challenges and threatens Ventus. But like I said, that is also both a good and a bad thing. It only seems like a bad thing when it's happening to you. But when you look in the grand scheme of things, it only makes you better in the long run. So this is the dark side, or the shadow self, not only teaching a lesson through its assault, but also through what it represents when it's away from you. So you don't want to completely discard the shadow self. You don't want to completely discard the darkness. You want to come to an understanding and refine it into a weapon. This is why they always tell you to face your fears. This is why they always tell you, you have to go through the long and the thorny path. And the reason, what it's really saying symbolically in folklore and mythology, is it's saying that you have to come to an inner understanding of what you're actually going through. You have to really take the darkness and use and refine it into a weapon for yourself. It's there to help you. It's not there for you to run away from. You can't spend your life running away spiritually or physically. Ventus also being pure light is limiting because he lacks the initiative and a considerable portion of his strength. This is why Vanitas is way stronger than him in their battles at first. And this is why Vanitas is, like I said, darkness is the instigator. So Vanitas is the one who sparks Ventus going on the journey in the first place. The two battling each other to forge the God Blade or the Key Blade describes a process that happens within you. Within you, the unification of light and darkness within the heart chakra must take place in order for you to rise above your lower self and into the higher nature and really take those experiences and balance them. So you're walking in balance. Your lower self doesn't control you anymore, but you're walking in balance and using that part of you to help you where it's meant to be, and it's in its right place rather than your lower self controlling you. Darkness being the ignorance of who you are spiritually and how to get where you need to be, a constant process. Light being the knowledge and wisdom gained from reaching the destination, which is also a constant process. So when we look at this, we can see why Xehanort is so fascinated with the Kingdom Hearts and the Keyblade itself, because it's necessary to provide balance to the universe. It's necessary for his own path in general, and not just him, but also you, also me, also all of us. And so Ventus sleeping in Castle Oblivion after the battle can also represent the soul that's sleeping within us, ready to awaken. This is in Birth by Sleep, and eventually Ventus does awaken. But this slumber, awakening after this slumber, Gnosticism describes this as gnosis, others describe it as enlightenment. Aqua, or the feminine energy, the Kundalini energy, vows to return to wake him up later. You can also syncretize that symbol of her with Shakti and Shiva from Hinduism, because Shakti meets Shiva in the pineal gland or in the third eye, and that helps awaken him. Using Ventus to empower yourself can look like focusing on your heart and what's important to you, listening to your inner guidance and following your heart. And you can forge your own Keyblade or your own God Blade by coming to an understanding of the lower self within you. And like I said, with the 3 lower chakras, because I made a video on the importance of the 3 lower chakras, you want to balance those first before you move into the higher chakras. And the reason why is because you don't want to bring that darkness, you want to bring that negative energy into the higher chakras. You want to balance them out and raise up the positive aspects of that. You want to release the negative energy and transform it into something good for you, something that helps you. You want to turn whatever is stuck in those chakras, you want to turn that into something powerful for you. And this could be considered chakra alchemy. This can be considered mental alchemy. Coming to an understanding of your experience here and really taking it and using it for yourself. Properly releasing darkness through acceptance so it no longer produces monsters or negative events in your life. That's the way to do it, because like I said, once your darkness is creating those things, you're not in control anymore. The purpose is really control. And you gain that control by listening to your heart and following your inner guidance. And so this is why eventually, these two do end up fighting and they unify and create the Keyblade. When Ventus destroys the God Blade, he falls asleep. That sleep is going back into the human body. Obviously, Kingdom Hearts is going to play it out in a more heroic way, in a more, save the world type of way. But if we're looking at the symbols of what these things are supposed to represent, you are supposed to forge that God Blade within yourself. And when it is destroyed, you will fall asleep. So the purpose is not to fall asleep, but to really unify both your lower and your higher selves. And that's really how to use these symbols to really come to an understanding of who you are, come to an understanding of your higher and your lower selves, and use it to benefit yourself for your spiritual journey, wherever it may take you. And obviously, I can't give you all the answers for where it's supposed to take you, but I can give suggestions just like this. Like I said, every character that you see in mythology, that you see in books, TV, media, whatever the case may be, they all represent aspects of what's within us. And so there are plenty of ways to use that to empower yourselves. It's just really up to you and how you're going to use it. And the answers that you get from it are exclusive to you. So use that and see where it takes you. See how far you can go with it. I hope you enjoyed the content, and I look forward to hearing your guys' experience on Ventus, Vanitas, the shadow self, and the heart chakra. Peace.